Hey, Jason, thanks for having me back out, man. It seems like last week I was out here doing the pre-pour inspection. So I'm really impressed with how fast they've been able to move on this and get the structure up, get the roof on, get the walls up, the sheathing, all that stuff. A couple things I want to go over with you. I want to make sure that you're aware of, and we'll start right over here, actually. So if you remember, one of the things that I had called out when doing the pre-pour inspection was that board that made this masonry ledge. And remember I said that they should be putting the pretty side up, the pretty side down, because they always put the pretty side up and it leaves the ugly side left on the bottom. Well, this is what the ugly side does is, and I remember explaining it to you, but this is that lip, that water that is going to be held back by, and you want that water to be able to, you want that water to not sit in this space. As you can see, it's been doing. You can see all the dirt that the water's held, but flow off. And so now they're gonna have to come bust all this out. Your builder's inspector was out here marking overdriven staples, quite a few places. There's a lot more around. And then flashing needs to be shingle style. They did kind of a half-assed job on this. You can see there's overdriven staples in quite a few locations, not just the ones that they marked. You'll see the ones in my report are ones that have not been marked. Nice little tear down there. Flash shingle style. Yeah, I mean, you can just imagine if you were a water droplet, you would love to fall inside this area because you'd have a nice warm home inside the wall. This service entrance panel looks terrible. Again, tape not sticking, and the way that they did this is just begging for water to get behind this stone or brick, whatever they're gonna put up here, and get into these areas. They do make a panel flashing for these, which is really ideal. It's got a little boot on it, and that's really what you need to help keep the moisture out of here. Now here's something really interesting, is this grounding rod. These grounding rods are 8 feet long, should be 8 feet long, driven straight into the ground. If they are not into the ground vertically, they can be up to 45 degrees. And if they're any less than 45 degrees from horizontal, then they need to be, they can go straight into the ground, but in a trench, I think it's 30 inches deep, if I'm not mistaken. What they've done here is they just laid this down and then bent it up. So if you look and see, it's just, I don't know how long this is, man. This is a little over 2 feet to the bend. I don't know. I'd be surprised if there was another 6 feet that I'm turning as I fold this up and down like this. I definitely want to make sure that you've got proper grounding protection from this rod. So have them either redo it or have master electrician or the engineer, somebody come out and say that this is okay the way this has been installed. I can tell you that code also requires this to be flush with the ground. I don't think they're going to put the level of your ground all the way up here. So this needs to be, this is something I've never seen them do before. This is a new one for me, so it'll definitely be on the report. Coming around the front, a lot of the same stuff, a few overdriven fasteners. Overall, the sheathing looks pretty good. You've got, again, with this little lip sticking up on this side, which, you know, it's something I'm used to seeing on these framing jobs, but it kind of hurts me right in the heart after having called it out on the inspection report, the pre-pour inspection report, telling them not to do it, and nobody came in and fixed it. So, but c'est la vie. Let's go inside. All right, so we're gonna start here at the roof because this is where I'm finishing up my inspection. Rafters are not properly nailed. These are your rafters, not properly nailed to your top plate. You've got 3 on one side and no nails on the other. You got 1 nail over here, that's good. You should have a minimum of 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Here's another one. No nails on one side, 3 on the other. So several of these should be nailed on at least one side. Speaking of needing nails, your top plate, your double top plate, the splices are supposed to have more nails than that. 2 over here. I don't see any over here, but they're probably behind, underneath this rafter, I'm guessing. There should be a minimum of 8 16 pennies or 10, I think 10 pennies that are splicing these together. And that's true all the way around. All these walls, these top of your regular walls and everything. All right, here on the inside, where you've got this diagonal board, this is let-in bracing. This is part of your shear wall, your interior wall bracing. The sill plate is supposed to be treated just like the exterior wall. They've put 1 shot pin in every stud bay. Maybe that's enough. Usually I see them double those up. So 2 in every, 1 every 8 inches is typically what they'll do. Or they'll actually put bolts in it every 6 feet. The 1 in every stud bay is pretty typical of what I'm seeing around most of the house in areas that aren't shear walls. So it leads me to believe that what they've done here is not sufficient for this shear wall, and the others are the same way. Speaking of shear walls, we're here in your, that's the entrance to your study. So we're here in your living room, backing up to the bathroom. You can see that this diagonal let-in bracing has been cut right there. So, plumbers, they chop everything out, man. So they need to figure out what to do about that. They may be able to supplement it with a metal strap or X strapping coming across, but they need to figure out what to do because you've lost a fair amount. This, if it doesn't come all the way down to the bottom plate, then you're not getting that complete connection from between corner and corner. So that needs to be fixed. So you see that pink foam? That's your fire blocking foam, your polyfill. There's 1,000 names for it. They've done a pretty good job of it, except they missed a few spots where it's supposed to be. This is right over your back door, so that needs to be filled with that same foam. Speaking of doors, they've did not fill in the top with foam there at your rear entry door. So you can see that that's an area of potential moisture intrusion. Now, they screw this up all the time, man. They come in here and they put way too much foam in these gaps. And what happens is that swells up and the window doesn't properly open anymore. So these are binding. This one is binding. The ones in your primary bedroom are binding. In fact, I think that, I think this one was open when they did the ceiling, because now it'll open, but it didn't want to close. So I'm sure if you force it, it'll close, but what's the point of that? It's just not operating. So here at the bathrooms, on every bathroom, what they've done with the toilet flange is they've got them installed, well, improperly. This flange here is supposed to be turned about 90 degrees because your toilet bolts go in here and get, they slide this way. And the toilet bolts are on the sides of the toilet, not at the front and back. So all these toilet flanges are installed wrong. I reckon what they'll probably do, I don't know, bust it out, redo it, or cut a hole, I don't know. Not a plumber, thank God. All right, here's a fun one. Now, I don't know if you plan on using internet while you're living here at this home, but you've got your 125 volt wire coming in, 15 amp, and then this is your low voltage, I guess Cat 6, and your cable coming in. Anyway, they're parallel, they're in contact all the way down here in your living room. So what's gonna happen is, well, what could happen is that this can bleed off the voltage into the higher voltage wire. So essentially, it could drop the voltage in your low voltage and bleed it into the that switch there. Well, I guess it's an outlet. Anyway, but these are not supposed to be in contact. They can run perpendicular, but not parallel, and certainly not be in contact. So they need to be separated just a little tiny bit so that there's no bleed. And then you've got this finger jointed wood, which is supposed to be pretty decent as long as it's in compression. You know, you don't want to use it horizontally, but supposedly this glue is stronger than the wood itself, which is great if the wood itself is properly glued. You can see that's a pretty bad joint right there. Left the factory, and then if that's not bad enough, somebody installed it. So that needs to be probably put another one, sister up another one right next to it all the way down to give you that support you need. So there you go, man. There's gonna be some other things on the report, odds and ends, you know, stuff that aren't that big of a deal. But if you have any questions about that stuff, let me know. If your builder has any questions about it, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer as best I can. So, man, again, I can't believe how fast this went up. I know they move quick, but this might be one of the fastest ones I've seen, because it was only, I mean, like 3 weeks or something that I was out here to do the pre-pour. So, maybe 4, but they've moved fast, really fast. I know one guy who had me out to do the pre-drywall inspection, and it had been 18 months since he had, since they'd poured the foundation. So at least this one isn't taking as long as that one. All right, man. See ya. Take care.